Divine culture, the realistic spirit of the Renaissance with both sacred form and essence. Spiritual realism, expressing inner emotions and psychology. The realistic spirit of Renaissance artists was not limited to the superficial realism. It's perceived by the naked eye, but extended to the depiction of deeper spiritual and emotional dimensions. In particular, humanism emerged as a response to the rigid religious constraints of the Middle Ages, which often overlooked worldly values and human emotions. Renaissance thinkers sought more humane and secular themes, leading to artistic expressions that were not only more visually realistic and beautiful than medieval icon paintings, but also imbued with deep human emotion, making them profoundly moving. Giotto's expression of human emotion in religious art. Giotto was among the first painters to incorporate human emotion into serious religious themes. In the Life of St. Francis frescoes in Assisi, and the Life of Christ murals in Padua, characters, expressions, and gestures shift dynamically with the unfolding narrative. In particularly somber scenes, such as the Crucifixion of Jesus and the Lamentation of Christ, Giotto captured sorrow in a deeply expressive way. Alongside the grieving Virgin Mary and disciples, even the angels in the sky displayed despair, some beating their chests and stomping their feet, others clutching their heads in anguish. Some tear at their garments and hair, adding raw emotion and movement to the composition, making the scene touching yet profoundly human. Masaccio's Paradise Lost, a study in remorse and despair. Masaccio's expulsion from the Garden of Eden, painted at the entrance of the Life of St. Peter fresco cycle in the Brancacci Chapel. It's another vivid portrayal of human emotion. In the painting, Adam and Eve are driven out of Eden by angels as punishment for eating the forbidden fruit. Adam buries his face in his hands, his posture heavy with shame and sorrow. Eve, in contrast, throws back her head in anguish, her hands desperately covering her body. Although the anatomical accuracy may not be perfect, the raw expression of remorse, shame, pain, and despair is strikingly real. Conveying emotion through physical gesture. The Greek philosopher Socrates once stated, "A statue should express the soul through its external form." Renaissance artists inspired by classical wisdom mastered this concept through gesture and movement in art. For example, Michelangelo's portrays the Virgin Mary, cradling her deceased son with serene yet sorrowful dignity. Though her expression is calm and restrained, her weakly outstretched left hand communicates unspoken grief, embodying the idea that silence speaks louder than words. Similarly, in David, the figure's seemingly relaxed pose actually harbors intense energy, as if anticipating imminent action. His focused gaze and furrowed brow reflect inner confidence and determination, emphasizing the psychological depth within his stance. Michelangelo also applied this expressive body language to The Last Judgment, where the dramatic gestures of figures reflect their emotional responses to divine judgments, some reaching upward for salvation, others dragged downward in despair. Leonardo da Vinci's Observations of Human Psychology. Leonardo da Vinci devoted immense effort to studying the relationship between body movement and psychology. He often wandered public squares and streets, carefully observing the behavior, expressions, and gestures of different people. In a treatise on painting, Leonardo advised artists to carry sketchbooks at all times so they could quickly capture conversations, disputes, and physical movements, recording them with rapid strokes. He believed that a great painter must master two things: the human figure and the emotions of the human soul. The most important aspect of painting is that the posture of the figure must reflect their inner state, whether longing, contempt, anger, or compassion. Leonardo da Vinci's application of his artistic theories is best exemplified in The Last Supper, painted in 1495 at the monastery of Santa Maria del Grazie in Milan. He masterfully captured the dramatic moment in the biblical narrative, the reactions of the 12 disciples when Jesus announced, "One of you will betray me." The tension, commotion, and heated discussions among the figures make this scene intensely immersive for viewers. Beyond integrating the mural with the perspective and natural light of the hall, Leonardo meticulously crafted the composition, analyzing the appearances, personalities, and interactions of each disciple. He placed great emphasis on gestures to convey their inner emotions, believing that the various movements of the hands and arms should express the intentions behind their actions. He argued that observers with keen judgment could decipher the inner thoughts of the characters simply by studying their gestures. At the center of the Last Supper, Jesus spreads his hands, embodying innocence, compassion, yet quiet resignation. St. Peter, driven by righteous indignation, impulsively grabs John's shoulder in an attempt to seek clarity, unknowingly pushing Judas, who clutches his money bag and turns away in alarm, into the spotlight. James the Elder, seated to Jesus' right, dramatically waves his hands outward, expressing disbelief. Thomas gestures toward the heavens, while Philip, with his hands pressed to his heart, proclaims his innocence. On the far right, Matthew, Thaddeus, and Simon engage in discussion, their hands subconsciously pointing toward Jesus, the central figure of the scene. Meanwhile, at the far left, Bartholomew, James the Younger, and Andrew rise from their seats. Their movements varied, but their gazes all locked onto Jesus. Despite their differing reactions, all 13 figures remain united around Jesus, with the vanishing point of the painting converging at his head, creating a powerful, dramatic composition that is both vivid and structured. Leonardo's search for the perfect models. Leonardo went to great lengths to find authentic representations for his figures. He would follow unusual-looking individuals for an entire day, studying their expressions and movements. He even visited prisons to find an appropriate model for Judas, seeking a face that embodied deceit and treachery. An amusing anecdote surrounds the creation of the Last Supper. Leonardo, known for deep contemplation before making each brushstroke, often paused for extended periods during his work. The impatient abbot of Santa Maria del Grazie is convinced that Leonardo was stalling, frequently urged him to hurry, and even complained to the Duke of Milan. When confronted, Leonardo calmly explained that true artistry required meditation and refinement before execution. He pointed out that only Jesus and Judas remained incomplete, requiring careful selection of the right models. With a touch of humor, Leonardo added that if the abbot insisted on rushing the work, he might have no choice but to use the abbot's face for Judas. The Duke, amused, laughed at the remark, and the abbot never interfered again. The realistic spirit in Renaissance art, Leonardo's deep study of life and human nature, combined with his artistic precision, represents the pinnacle of realistic expression. Similarly, Peter Bruegel, the Elder, famous for his genre paintings of peasant life, vividly depicted both the joys and flaws of humanity. His works, such as The Peasant Wedding and The Village Dance, portray ordinary people celebrating in simple conditions, revealing both their carefree spirit and their imperfections there. Greedy eating habits, drunken arguments, and clumsy dancing. Rather than mocking them, Bruegel used humor and satire to highlight human folly. Bruegel's meticulous observational skills extended beyond rural life. In The Blind Leading the Blind, he visually interprets Matthew 15:14. If the blind lead the blind, both will fall into a ditch. The painting depicts 6 blind men, each following the next, with the first having already fallen. Their movement resembles a chain reaction, with the others tumbling forward one by one. Unlike earlier painters who merely closed the eyes of blind subjects, Bruegel accurately illustrated different eye diseases. The central figure wears a blue turban and suffers from cataracts. The man who has already fallen appears to have lost his eyeballs, possibly due to an accident or punishment. Those following behind display symptoms of corneal scarring and ocular atrophy, highlighting Bruegel's exceptional medical awareness. By juxtaposing their suffering against the peaceful countryside, he subtly suggests that human misfortune and ignorance are often intertwined. Final thoughts. Renaissance realism went beyond visual accuracy, capturing human emotions, psychology, and philosophical depth. Whether through Leonardo's psychological study of expression, Michelangelo's sculptural mastery, or Bruegel's satirical reflections, these artists shaped a lasting cultural legacy that continues to inspire and elevate artistic pursuits. True realism is not mere imitation, but rather a profound exploration of truth, a quest for understanding the divine, the human experience, and the essence of beauty.